we're talking about something that sometimes people find really stressful, and that's about finances. I've got a couple tips today that I share with my clients whenever we're talking about financial planning or things that are happening in their life or business that we can prepare for. So, if this is an area that you are struggling with, this is definitely a podcast that you're going to want to listen to. First things first, you've got to know where you're at. You've got to know your finances. And I know for a lot of people, this can be scary because people don't know where things are at, don't really know how much money. They just know that they're running out of money. They know that they need to save for retirement, but it's stressful and scary. And you've got to start where you are before you can move forward. And that can be as easy as printing out your bank statements, your credit card statements, and looking them over. For some of us, this seems like an obvious duh. Of course, I should be looking at that. But for a lot of people, it's not. That can be an overwhelming thing to look and see where you're currently at. Printing off those bank statements, set a time aside to take a look at them and make sure that you know where your money is going, because you might be losing money on something that you didn't even know was still being taken out of your account. Essentially, check your iPhone. There's a subscriptions tab inside the settings. You could be paying for things that you signed up for at one time and have been coming out on a reoccurring basis and not realizing it. Another huge thing that you can look for is those reoccurring transactions that are happening that you're not using anymore. Do you really need all 7 TV streaming services as well as cable? Maybe, maybe not. But this is the time to look at it and make sure to see if your ship is leaking and you're just not even aware of it. Another big one that is so important is to make sure to have a budget. Now, this is one that can be very complicated, but here's my recommendation. Create a spreadsheet and go through your bank statement and those things that are reoccurring. So, of course, the obvious ones, your electricity, your house payment, your rent, all those utilities that you're paying, that's probably the easiest place to start. Next up, do you have a car payment? Do you have multiple car payments? Then go through if you have any debt. So are you paying on any student loans, any credit cards, anything else that you might be paying on, but you might be able to save some money with a smaller interest rate? That's phase 2. We'll come back to that. But just getting all that information out onto a spreadsheet can really help you hone in on what bills you're paying every single month. And more importantly, what is that total dollar amount? Because if you look at your income and you look at the outgoing, and the outgoing is more than the incoming, you're going to need to cut some stuff, but you won't be able to tell that unless you create that budget. So that's step number 1. I do this on Google Docs because it's just easier for me, but Google Sheets, Google Docs, wherever it's easier for you, old-fashioned piece of paper and a pen, whatever works, get all that stuff off of your bank statement and onto a piece of paper or a digital file so that way you can keep track of it. The next step after that is to take a chunk of time, whether that's 2 or 3 months, and look over those bank statements and see if there's things that are coming out, maybe not monthly. Maybe it's every other month. Maybe it's once a quarter or once a year, once every 6 months, whatever that looks like, is something that you want to monitor, because there's things that we sign up for, apps, whatever it might be, that only come out once a year. And we want to make sure that we head those off so that way we can retain that money in our checking account. Because a lot of times you won't be able to get that month's billing back once the company charges it. And they'll refer to you to their original contract that you signed up, which you may not have read, but the original contract that says that whatever month you cancel in, you don't get that money back. So that's something to be aware of. I know that because it happened to me. So learn from my mistakes. I think a really important thing too is to set your financial goals. Allow yourself to dream. If you have debt, what would it be like to not have debt? Do you want to purchase a second home? Do you want to have a paid off car? No credit card debt? Whatever that looks like to you, a ton of money in savings, whatever it is, make sure that you're mapping out those financial goals because it's important to be able to envision what your life would be like without those additional bills once you've gotten them paid off. Along with planning for those financial goals, you've got to plan for the future. Many years ago, $1 million was enough to retire on. And it's just not the case anymore. With the cost of inflation, everything going up, the cost of houses, cars, everything that we purchase is going up. You want to make sure that you're allowing yourself enough time to build that wealth while you're in your early years. So that way you can take advantage of the compound interest. So you've got to plan for those goals and then set out a plan to make sure that you can accomplish those goals. Wherever you're at, you need to seek out a licensed financial advisor who can help you with this. That person is going to be able to maximize the amount of savings that you have and make sure that you're making your money do push-ups, which is what you need to do, especially if you're in a catch-up phase. I want to put this out to the world. So if you hear nothing from this podcast, hear me on this. It is not too late. Wherever you are in life, it doesn't matter how young you are or how old you are, you start where you're at. Every step towards your goal is a step forward. Don't allow yourself to be overwhelmed and debilitate yourself from moving forward. Make sure that you seek out people to help you. If you have a small business, you want to do the same thing for your small business. You want to make sure that your personal finances are lined out as well as your business finances. Now, I have talked before about going through bank statements because I myself have been caught by spending money on things that I'm no longer using on the small business side. You are probably in a very similar position. There are things that we are spending money on that we shouldn't be. So not only are we planning for our personal finance goals, we're also planning for our business finance goals. One of my favorite books that I will sing from the mountaintops that I love is Profit First. This is a really good book to check out if you're looking to get your finances organized. He talks extensively the way that you can change your business by using his tips and techniques. I have followed his tips and techniques. I have modified them a bit, but that is okay because it's what works best for me. And I will tell you, it has changed my business finances as well as my personal finances. So this is something that I want you to schedule all in your calendar, make a date and work on this. I know it can be overwhelming, but if you start today, you will change the future of your family, your business. It will make an absolute difference in your life. This is your sign. It is not too late to get this done.